Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 531. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 4th, and we had an absolutely lovely weekend here. Mostly in the summers, Kansas City is hot and humid, and we have had a spate of 75 to 80 degree temperatures, which is absolutely lovely. It's been breezy. It has not been humid. It has been so lovely and such a welcome break. By the end of the week, we should be back in the 90s and it will be hot and humid again. But we enjoyed this past weekend quite a bit. I don't have a lot to tell you because I basically relaxed all weekend. There was almost no crafting, despite the fact that I wanted there to be. On Friday, my arm started twitching a little bit, and I thought, I really don't want to craft this weekend and make it worse. So I pretty much took the weekend off, other than I plied my final skein from the Tour de Fleece. So I do not have a lot of knitting progress to share with you. I have a few projects, and I will share them with you a bit. I'll talk about my spin. I'll talk about, I pulled some fiber for my next spin, although I don't know precisely when I'm going to start that. And I thought about the quilt that I wanted to make, but I didn't even get to cutting that. So today's is going to be very light on substance, but I did not want to miss a time to chat with you, and I do have a finished object, so that was kind of fun too. So today's tea, I am kind of on an iced tea kick. I've been making pitchers, and today I am making hibiscus sangria from Republic of Tea. It is lovely. It is herbal. These are larger. These are specifically made for iced tea, so they are larger tea bags. And what I actually do is I boil up a little bit of water, not a lot, just a little bit, and I kind of pour it into a glass measuring cup. And then I put the tea bag in there and I soak it and I make like a really, really intense saturated solution. And then I pour that into my iced tea pitcher along with quite a bit of ice water, and then I put it in the fridge and let it sit, and then I have a jar to pour for myself. And so this has, let's see what it says inside: hibiscus, apple bits, sweet blackberry leaves, orange peel, natural orange, lemon, lime, and strawberry flavors. So this is, I have a few more of these, and then I have one other that I can't remember. Might be like a cucumber apple. I can't remember, but I'll probably make that next week. I just have been enjoying having a pitcher in the fridge, and I'm drinking it in my Minions mug today, and it actually got to sit in the fridge for a couple hours before I poured it, so I didn't even put ice in. I just add just a little bit of sweetener. This one is caffeine-free. It technically has no tea in it. It's an herbal tisane, and it's nice and fruity and perfect for the summer. I also saw stuff where they suggested you could brew this up and then add fruit and wine if you wanted to actually make it sangria. But it is 11:30 in the morning here. I'm taking my lunch hour right now, and I don't want to get crazy on a work day. So for now, I am just drinking it as iced tea. So I hope that you're doing well. Like I said, we had not a lot happen this weekend. I ran errands, and then we met my in-laws for dinner on Saturday night, the purpose of which was Wes had bought them some souvenirs in Scotland and also Hawaii. In Hawaii, as we were leaving, we found some seeds and plant starts that had been quarantined in some way to make them safe to bring home as souvenirs, and his mom loves planting things in the garden and loves flowers, and so he brought her a bunch of those things. But since they were seeds and starts, and like you could see there was a little bit of moisture in the bag, he didn't want them to rot or, so we decided we needed to meet up with them. And so we went out on Saturday night to have dinner with them at a restaurant not too far from us. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's about an hour and a half away. It was kind of in a midpoint between our houses. And of course, Wes forgot the seats. So then my mother-in-law came over the next day. So we entertained quite a bit this weekend, and I started a new book. And then I did manage to apply one skein of yarn, but otherwise I did no crafting. So I do have a few things to show you, but there's not much progress. So the thing that I have to show you that I'm really excited about is that I did finish last week before my arm started bothering me. I finished my Pampas Tea by Samantha Guerin. This is a fingering weight tea with a nice lace weight yoke. Starts from the top down. You do yoke increases, a little bit of lace chart, and then the rest is just a plain and simple knit. I worked this in some yarn that I got in Kentucky a few months ago when we were there. I got 2 skeins of Northwoods fibers. Yeah, Northwoods fibers, and it is her butternut sock, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and the colorway is Killing Me Softly. Really, really beautiful, kind of pink speckled. And then when I thought I was going to run out, and honestly, I probably didn't need to do this, but when I thought I was going to run out, I pulled some superwash merino slash, I think also nylon, from a friend of mine, Christine, Treasure Goddess Yarns, in the colorway Feeling Fine Like Blackberry Wine. It's just a really dark burgundy, and I used it to sort of basically make this a ringer tea. That is one of the only modifications that I made. The only other is that I knit the tea just a little bit longer than the pattern suggested, which could also account for why I thought I was going to run short on yarn, just because I wanted it, the tea is supposed to be a little bit cropped, and I decided I wanted it a little bit longer, and when I tried it on, I was very pleased with that. The yarn is now washed and blocked and drapes really, really nicely, and this is my tea. So you can see just a little bit better the lace. I guess you can't really, well, you can see it a little bit here. You can see the lace pattern. It is lovely. The lace is not super see-through, so I don't think I will have to wear a camisole underneath, but it is really nice, and the yarn is beautiful. And as I said, I did kind of a ringer tea treatment where I did dark edges and hem. And so I knit a couple extra inches on the bottom and added a hem, and it blocked out really nicely. It's beautiful and drapey, and I can't wait to wear it. I probably should have worn it today for the podcast, but I thought you'd be able to see it more if I didn't wear it. So this one is done. This was primarily my Scotland knit and my vacation knitting this summer. I finished it when I got home. I knit it in just over a month, and it took almost 2 full skeins of fingering weight plus just a little bit for the edges. So I would say 2 full skeins of fingering weight. I made the whatever the medium is, the size around 38-inch bust. It is meant to have a little bit of ease, and so I am really, really happy with it, and I can't wait to wear it and enjoy it. So that is a project done and dusted, and I'm so pleased with that. I'm also pleased that while I bought yarn with a purpose, and I cast it on fairly quickly, and I was very excited to just kind of turn this into a project. I had bought it with vacation knitting in mind, and so I'm happy that it was kind of in and out of the stash and used as I wished it to. You know, so many times I buy a skein with a project in mind, and then I never do the project, and then I have skeins in my stash, and that's actually the perfect segue to the next project. So I am working on the Hiss and Vinegar shawl, which is Casapinka's current summer knit along, mystery knit along. She released Clue 3 this past Friday. I am not quite done with Clue 2. I had intended to start working on it again this weekend, and I really wanted to devote a lot of time to it this weekend, and then I decided to play it safe and not. So this project is actually sort of, I cast this on a whim because a friend of mine was doing the project, and the pattern calls for 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. And what I did was I kind of just looked through what I had in my stash, and I picked out skeins that I didn't think I was going to use any other way. And so this is mostly a stash project, and I say mostly because I ended up purchasing something. So we'll talk about that this week. Let me pull out all the tags. I'm just trying to make sure that I have exactly what I want here. Oh, yes, I do, because the other one's right here. Okay, so the first one that I started with was I found this really fun Lola Bean colorway in my stash. Oh, and I'm now using it for a bookmark. This is 80% merino, 20% silk. It is lovely. It was, I believe, a Ukraine sock fundraiser, because it was a sock set that came with this and then a mini that was kind of a buttery yellow. And the thing I like about this is that it has some blue, some darker blue, and some orange speckles, which if you have not been with me for the last couple weeks, you will not know what I did with it, but if you have, you will remember. The second skein I found in my stash was Treasure Goddess Amos Yarns. This is one of her old sock skeins because her blend is a little bit different now. 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, 100 grams, 463 yards in Lusty Wench. And that is this bright orange. And if I hold it next to it, you can see that it picks up some of the orange bits. Like right there, you can see it's a pretty good match for that. The third skein that I pulled out was actually, it was a set of 2 mini skeins. They were each 50 grams, and the yarn was from Indigo Dragonfly. It was Caribou Ba, and I bought this, I think it was a colorwork mitten set. So I have 50 grams of deoxyribonucleic acid. I think it was something about science. And this is 100 grams, 435 yards. So it's Indigo Dragonfly, and this is the card. And this is the colorway. I don't have very much left, but these 3 were going together. So I knew that I wasn't going to have enough of this one, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. It came with kind of an acidic green, which probably would have been okay, but it wasn't my favorite. I really was kind of digging the orange and blue kind of the orange and blue palette. Sorry, I'm going to try and put these like olives on my hands so I can hold them so you can see them. So these were my 3 colors, and I decided what I really wanted was more of this one. So I really thought that's what I was going to go for. But then I decided that I could not, sorry, my computer, I leaned on my computer, and so it's being weird. I really wanted more of this one, but the problem is that I couldn't find more of it. It was a special set, a special colorway. And then I was trying to like compare other blues online, and I knew that I would not get an exact match, and then I would not be happy with it. And so one of my knitting friends suggested that maybe I look for a peach, kind of do a second shade of orange. And I found something in my stash, but it was much grayer and not very bright. And so she suggested that I order something else. And I don't know, I was feeling wishy-washy in the moment, and I'm still feeling a little wishy-washy, but what I ended up doing was ordering a skein of Emma's Yarns Practically Perfect Sock. So, and I don't think I have a skein of this, but I don't think I've knit with it. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards to 100 grams. And this is in Don't Call Me Peaches. And this is in a really pretty peach colorway. So I think I like this palette. And what I decided to do was I decided to start working it in immediately. So I'm going to show the shawl now. And if you are participating and don't want to see it, I'm not all the way through clue 2. So if you are not very far behind, I will not be showing you anything that you would not have already seen. But just in case, I don't want to upset anyone. So I'm going to say, look away now if you want, and I will show you what I've got so far. So this is what I've got so far. We started out through clue 1. I think the end of clue 1 was at the end of this section with the blue and the orange accents, and then starts this next section, which has kind of a fun striping effect. And then what I did is this section actually is repeated twice. This striping section, and so I decided to go ahead and switch into the new color so that I could start to work the new color in. In part, that is because I'm running short on this color, and I want to be able to work it in at other points in the shawl. So I decided to try and work this in here. And I don't know what that will mean for my colors. It means that I will probably start deviating from the actual suggestions for A, B, and C in the sections coming up, because I will be trying to work more of this in with the other colors, and I will try and use this one sparingly so that I can actually make it to the other end of the shawl. I really, I used quite a bit of it in the first section, so, and I'd like to make it last so that the shawl looks somewhat balanced, even though it will have a little bit less. So that is where I'm at. I think I like it. I mean, I think it's the right brightness and intensity. There isn't quite as much contrast between these 2 colors as I would have liked, and I don't know what the contrast will be like between the peach and the light blue. Which I will probably try in the next section, just because I think I need to like work those together. I have quite a bit of those. So, you know, we'll see how this goes. I'm excited to see where it goes. This is, so I am like maybe halfway, maybe a little more than halfway through clue 2, and I have not looked at clue 3 at all yet. I know that this week there will not be another clue. I think there are 2 more clues after this. So we'll have weeks, we'll have like week 5 and 6 where we'll get clues 4 and 5. my hope is that maybe by this weekend my arm will be feeling better, and so I can work on catching up. I really sort of wanted to knit along with this in the time frame, and it was great vacation knitting when I went on my last trip to Hawaii. So I'm really pleased with this. I'm excited. It's funny because, as I said, I went through my stash and picked out some skeins that I thought, gosh, you know, I just don't know when I'm ever going to use these. I don't hate any of these colors, but they're not really, other than the dark blue here, the kind of teal, they're not me colors. But the funny thing is that I'm kind of falling in love with this. And so, you know, originally I said I might give it away, I might keep it, I don't know. And now I'm thinking I might keep it, even though I don't wear shawls that much. So I don't know, but I am happy with it, but not very much progress because I was like on this blue stripe last time. I had to wait for I had to order the peach last week. I had to wait for it to come. And then it came on Friday and I wound it up and immediately my arm started bugging me. And I was like, oh, well, I guess not. So that is where I'm at with this one. I hope I'll have more progress for you next time. The other thing that I had planned to do this past weekend was start on Roxy's birthday sweater, and I did not do that at all. I think what I'm going to try and do in the next couple days while I give my arm a break is I will try and wind the yarn because I have not wound it yet. And so I think that'll keep me occupied for the next night or two while I wind those skeins. And then I will be ready to go as soon as my arm is ready to go. My plan is to work on Roxy's sweater and my shawl for the next few weeks. I have other things that I want to get back to. I have another top tee that I would love to pull out and start again. That's the mosaic tee. But I think I would really like to get into these two projects first, and then when the shawl is done, I'll probably pick the tee back up. I also have lots of things that I want to do for the fall. I have some socks I want to do. I want to make a vest for myself out of that yarn that I got in Scotland, and so I think that will probably be my first winter cast on. And of course, we are now or fall cast on. We are now in August, and the last couple days the weather has been cooler, so I have been thinking about all the lovely things that I would like to make and wear for fall. But we will just see how that goes. So I'm trying to think what else is new in the world of knitting. I don't think that I have discussed it here, but I do. My knitting time is going to be a little interesting going forward. For the past several years now, I have been doing a lot of sample knitting and contract knitting. And the sample knitting has pretty much abated at this point. The company that I was doing work with, Zen Yarn Garden, closed their doors last year, and I had known about it for some time. But so I am not really knitting samples anymore, which actually is kind of okay because I used to be super, super, super knitting productive, but it meant that I also pushed myself quite a bit. And as I've sort of learned my new limits in the last couple of years, I am working at a pace that I am comfortable with now. The other thing that I found out several months ago, and I haven't been at liberty to share, but the City Girl Farm is shutting down at the end of the year. If you have been with me for a while, you know that I have been a contract chicken feather knitter for a while. I share them here sometimes. Many times I do not because they are plain and they look like all the other ones that I have done. But basically, these are sculptural chickens. They are 3D, bigger than life size, I think, because they are quite large. And the City Girl Farm is known as the home of the original chicken footstool. They are chickens that are sort of turned into footstools. Inside, they are wood and brass. And then on the outside, we decorate them with felted or knit wool. And I have been working with them since 2014, 2015. It has been an amazing journey. They are all artists and I love working with them. And I am frankly kind of gutted that they're closing, but I have known for several months now. My chicken is still in progress. I talked about that. That was why I had to finish up spinning and knitting fairly quickly because I needed to get it in. They have relinquished their studio already. They gave up the studio at the end of June. And so they are sort of preparing for the final few offerings in the next month or two, 3. I think we have flocks for I know we have one for August. I know we have one for September. I think there might be one for October. And then I think that might be it. I have a very little bit of knitting that I am finishing up for them. I had just a little bit of yarn left over from a previous project. And so I am turning that into something that they can use. And then I am done. So that means that my knitting time is pretty much going to be 100% my own. Not that it wasn't 100% my own before, but I chose to obligate myself to knit certain things at certain times, and so my knitting life is going to change kind of drastically. I think it will be a little bit less because I am cutting back on production, but also it'll be interesting to think about what I want to make for me, what more I want to do for charity. I do have some quantities of yarn that I think I'd like to turn into donation items. So I don't know exactly what the future is going to hold or what project might come along to take the place. Often when a door closes, another door opens. I can't see into the future. But I just thought that I would share that is not going to be a part of my life any longer, a fact for which I am sorry, but have come to terms with. So, and it's a very long story why they're closing. It doesn't actually really have to do with business. It was a personal decision by the owner. So it has nothing to do with the work that any of us did. And I will be sorry to lose it because it was I am a very left-brained person. While I am artistic, I'm just very definitely organized, list making, and so most of the knitting that I was doing was sample. It was exact size, it was get gauge, and the chickens was nothing like that. I mean, basically it was fly by the seat of your pants and use up all the yarn and don't bring anything back. So it was kind of an interesting experience. I loved it. I will be forever grateful to be a part of it, and we'll see what comes next. So let me cover spinning and then I will close. I did finish my third and final skein of the tour this week. I actually am really thrilled. In past years, many of you will know that 3 skeins for the tour compared to past years is kind of crazy, but crazy in a low way because I used to spin a pound or 2. But for me, this year was kind of a triumph. Last year, I re-injured myself and could not even finish the tour. I only got to spin for the first week or so of the tour. This week, I spun for 3 weeks. I did not spin precisely for the 3 weeks of the men's tour, but I included this last week of the women's tour. So I was away for the first few days, and then I was away for a whole week in the middle, but I managed to spin 3 weeks and a skein a week. And for that, I am pretty proud of myself and happy with what I achieved. So the one that I just finished this week was called Pitapat. It is a Corriedale yarn. It was dyed by Hello Yarn, and I finished it, and I'm really pleased with how it came out. The predominant color in this was kind of a bright lemon yellow, surrounded by some rusty oranges and golds, and then kind of the contrast to that was there were some purples and teals. And so this skein spun up, like I said, predominantly yellow and kind of fall colors, but also with a little bit of ocean colors. I literally just finished plying this last night because I had meant to ply it on Friday night, but I decided to take a couple nights off. I finished plying it last night. It has not been washed and thwacked. It is probably between 350 and 400 yards, which seems to be my kind of default sport weight-ish. And so I will wash this, and then this and one of my other skeins will be going up in my shop later this week. They're both Corriedale. They would be great for socks. The Flamingo skein has already gone off to its new home. So 3 skeins for the tour, approximately, I would say, between 900 and 1200 yards. I know that's quite a range, but all of them were like between 300 and 400. So my guess is I came out about 1,000 or 1,100, not quite 1,200, but that would be why I'm estimating the way I am. So my plan is to wash this and thwack it and give it some beauty shots and then put it up in the shop. And my hope is that I can continue some of my spinning momentum. I'm going to give myself a break this week just because I want to baby my arm. I don't want to have to take any more time off than I need to. And so my plan is to go very light this week and then maybe start another spin next week. That said, I did go ahead and pull another spin. I have lots of Hello Yarn. I've been in the club for years, and sometimes I fall down at her updates, so I'm going to spin another braid of Hello Yarn. This one is, it's called Still Air. It was the July 2024 Fiber Club. It's Blueface Leicester. which is a long, kind of sultry, silky, stapled yarn. And this is the colorway, and I just think it's really cool. It's got these peaches and really light pinks combined with magenta, and then also a little bit of kind of a green or teal. Definitely much in my color wheelhouse. And so I am excited to spin this one. This one will definitely be for the shop as well. I expect I'll get a little bit less than my standard yardage on this because BFL tends to not quite spin so fine as some of the other things that I spin. I always get a little bit less yardage, and it also has more crimp, so it kind of floofs up when I'm done with it, and so I get a little bit less yardage that way. But that is what I'm going to work on when I start working on another spin. My guess is I won't keep up with a braid a week, but if I could do a braid every other week, that would be really nice. And I have lots and lots of fiber, as you can see. I have more stash than I need, and I would really like to work on that. I also have a couple sets of 2 braids. Recently, if I've been buying, I've often been, so my club is one selection a month. But recently, if I've been buying, I've often been buying 2 braids at a time so I can do something a little bit bigger with them or put up slightly bigger skeins in the shop. I don't know if that's something that anybody is interested in, but so I have 2 skeins of a really, really pretty, like peachy summer color with lots of speckles in it. And I know it has some silk in it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was a Kim Dyes yarn, so that might be my next one, which will take me a little longer if it's 2 skeins. But so this is my plan for this week. Well, for the next couple weeks, and so I am going to get into it. So I think that's it for me today. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble a little bit. I hope that you are having a good time knitting. Are you starting to think about fall? The beginning of August always makes me think about cooler temperatures, and I get that sweater bug, and I just want to knit all the things. And I am definitely starting to feel that. One of the things that I did this past week, I had a little bit of free time last week. There was a day that I wasn't super busy at work, and I was looking for a needle to cast on a new project, and I realized that I had like a ton of project bags that had half-finished projects and needles in them that I had never really unpacked, and that's probably where most of my needles were. And so last week I joked that I unfucked things. Sorry, I know I don't curse that much on here, but I joked that I was kind of doing that because I pulled out all these project bags. I have a whole pile of needles on the floor that I need to just use my needle sizer, like they're without the bags. So I need to use the needle sizer, put them back in their bags, put them back in my case. And I have a whole stack of project bags now that will be waiting to have projects. And I unraveled 2 projects that I knew were not going to fit and were not going the way I wanted them to, and I returned the yarn to the bin. I still have 2 projects specifically that I know of that I need to get to. I think part of the reason I didn't frog them is because I also plan to recast them on. One is that mosaic tee that I started earlier this summer, and it's just a little bit too big. And then the other one is my last year's Nanny Suemo, which was the Excuse Me sweater, and that one's a little bit too small, and so I need to rip back and figure out what I'm going to do with that. And so those I haven't tackled yet because I know I'm going to continue knitting them, but I knit one sweater that I really... I wanted to knit that sweater for a long time, and I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do, and I picked some colors, and they did not look great, and the sweater looked to be too small for me, and I was like, you know what, I'm just taking it back. And I found all these stitch markers that were in things, so it's where all my stitch markers have been going too. So I just have been feeling kind of productive and ready to get back into knitting, and hopefully my arm will cooperate. So I hope you have a lovely week ahead. I hope that by the time I can talk to you again, I have some progress to show you on at least 2 projects. And I will say, as I always say, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.